Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. I do hope you're having a good day. Welcome to the Day In, Day Out podcast. This is episode 64. And I've got to say, this lady, oh my God, uh, Kim Peek, she is a running coach, a cancer survivor. And like some of the things she did, like after, like, she had her treatments to go keep herself focused and keep herself going is just plain mighty. So like she calls herself Coach Kim, but to me, she's like going to be. I call her Coach Kim the Mighty because dear God in heaven, if some of the stuff happened to me, I'd most probably be like, yeah, I'm done. That's it. But this lady just did not quit and she keeps on going. Yeah, so please enjoy the podcast. Please subscribe to the channel and I hope you have a fantastic day. No worries. Hey, have a great one. Peace. Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Day In, Day Out podcast. Woo, this is episode 60. I'm going to say 64 with Kim Peek. I got to say, yes. Now, I like doing running, but not most probably to the level of Kim here. Yes. All I've got to say is she has a Power Up Your Performance podcast. She has a new book which came out in March. And yes, no, look, if I say anything now, I'll just give it away. But like, you know what? Kim, how are you today? How is everything?
Well, thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be here, excited to talk a little running, a little bit about life, whatever you're up for.
Yes. Like this is the thing. I was looking through the interwebs and like your profile came up. I thought, yes, why not bring someone who had, how can I say, most of it does more running than me. Like I went through the whole of, what month was it? It was, excuse me, May. I basically ran a half a marathon every single day in May. I got some, and maybe sometimes like more than half a marathon. I hit something like 700, something like 700 miles in that month. I was like, yeah.
Oh my gosh, you just to set the record straight, you run way more than I do.
I, yeah, because like you with your running, you dropped 50 pounds in weight. Is that correct?
That is true. When I first started running 11 years ago, I was working with a personal trainer, and we had what she called small group personal training, which meant that we trained with a group of 4 women.
Mm,
And she had several of these groups. So there were 16 to 20 of us that would kind of weave in and out of each other's groups. All moms, we were all working out during the day. We would put our kids in the nursery at the gym. Our kids loved hanging out together in the nursery. And on days when maybe you didn't feel like going to the gym, you had your kids that were like, hey, mommy, it's time to go to the gym because I have plans. I mean, our kids had plans. They wanted to play and do crafts and do all kinds of fitness activities. So, working out with all of these women, our trainer at some point said, these women are getting strong, but
mm,
they don't have very good cardiovascular fitness. And so she decided that in between our weight sets, she would have us run. And all it was 1/10 of a mile around our gym's track, our indoor track.
mm.
And I hated it. I hated it so much that I threatened to quit training with her if she made us run anymore. I mean, my entire body ached. So we went from that stage to my friend saying, hey, maybe it'd be cool if we all ran a 5K. I
Oh,
thought, well, I really don't love that idea either. But, it's the middle of winter. And on the days that we didn't work out with our trainer, we would hang out in the cardio area, like on the treadmills, and
mm,
they would work out on the treadmills. And I was determined I was not going to be a runner. And so I would be on the elliptical right next to them. And I'd be having this conversation. And then one day, I mean, I vividly remember this. We're standing, I'm on the elliptical, they're on the treadmills, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, I used to call them my hot mama friends. They all looked amazing. And here I was with still this 50 extra pounds that I had when I gave birth to my youngest daughter. I have 3 daughters. And I thought, I spend all day with these women. I know exactly what they do. We eat lunch together. We eat basically the same things.
Mm.
The only difference is that they're doing higher intensity exercise than what I'm doing. So maybe I ought to get on board with this. So it was another thing where your friends just kind of, not really peer pressure, but kind of, my friends just kind of pushed me along. They dragged me into it. And every day they would give me this encouragement. Okay, Kim, just a little bit more, 30 seconds more running today, 5 minutes more total running, whatever it was, just to get me to take that little tiny baby step day after day after day. And so then spring came and it was time for this 5K. And I had just been gradually losing this weight as we were training. And I think at that point I had lost about 40 pounds. And one of my friends was running the 5K with me. I remember wanting to stop and begging to stop. Please, please, Amy, can't we walk? Just let me walk a little bit. And I mean, I wish I could stand up and show you the whole dramatic thing, but that day it was cold outside and I didn't really have the variety of fitness clothing that I have now. And so I pulled on just this old pair of sweatpants that I hadn't worn in a while. And we're running toward the finish line, probably the last, quarter mile. And I'm clutching my pants at my waist because my pants are falling down. Please, Amy, let me stop. My pants are falling down. Anyways, I just remember that, that was this realization for me that, wow, I am about to complete my first 5K, and it was really, really hard at that time. It was really hard still. And then I've lost all this weight, and then I crossed the finish line, and it was exhilarating. It just felt like this amazing accomplishment. And from that point on, I was hooked.
It was your gateway. How can I say it was your gateway drug into the running world?
Yeah.
So your first 5K, so it was your gateway in. So was it a case of you okay, right, let's get on the next 5K? Or was it just a sort of gradual thing where you're let's do another 5K?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh, no. I totally became hooked and went overboard. And so my husband's cousin said to me, she was a triathlete at the time, and I just always really looked up to her. I looked up to all the things that she could do, because to me, being a triathlete at that time was that is the toughest thing you can do. Those people do amazing things. And so she said to me, and this was in probably April of that year, she said to me, hey, why don't you train for the Disney half marathon, and we'll take our families and we'll go do it together. And that race, if you're not familiar with it, it's at Disney World in Orlando, Florida. And since that time, they have added that to become that dopey and goofy challenge where you could do just a 5K or a 10K or a half marathon or a marathon, or you could be a total crazy person and do all 4 of those events in a series of 4 days. And I actually know and have coached a lot of people who have done that. But at the time, this was all it was this half marathon. And so I start training for it. I'm like, yeah, this is a great idea. And we're going to get a family vacation out of it. So that was also my introduction to running for the purpose of doing destination races, which is another thrilling part to me. I've always loved picking out, hey, what part of the world would I like to go see? I guess I haven't seen anything outside of the US at this point as a runner, but where would I like to go? Where would I like to race? And you pick a race. And to me, that's another fun part of it. But so my relative says, let's go do this Disney race. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gung-ho. I start training really hard. And that's in January. But before we get to that point, it's coming up on fall. And I'm like, I'm ready to race now. Okay. And so I picked a race and did my first half marathon. My brother met me, and I went to Omaha, Nebraska, which is where I'm from. My brother is still there. So my brother met me and he ran with me. My friend Amy, who dragged me through that first 5K. She went with me and we did this race. And to celebrate, I got my first and only so far tattoo.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, that was my thing. I was like, I'm going to finish this race and I'm going to get a tattoo to celebrate, because in my mind at the time, that was the most challenging thing I had ever done. And it was worthy of some sort of body art to commemorate the occasion.
Ah, dare I ask, where you got this tattoo placed?
It's just on my back shoulder.
Okay.
It's a 13.1 with wings coming out of it. Very cliche.
Oh, well, like, this is the thing. Like, at the time, yeah, marking your first half marathon. Like, did you have the date of when you did it underneath?
No. So in my mind, I never followed through on this, but in my mind, I was going to keep going back and getting little stars all around it each time I completed a half marathon, which I never did. But that was my vision for my design that I never did.
Ah, I see. So how many half marathons have you done so far?
Oh, darn. I knew you were going to ask me that. And
Well,
I seriously don't know. I kind of quit counting. I also don't save my race bibs, and all of my medals are just in a box thrown somewhere.
so 20 half marathons? 30
Oh
half-
gosh, I bet it's more than that. Maybe 40. I don't really know. I mean, a lot. But
Wow.
then I also switched to being a triathlete, because remember, I looked up to those people and thought they were so super cool and tough. So I also switched to triathlon, and I found that, at least for my body, doing a triathlon is much easier on my body than doing a full marathon or a half marathon.
How so?
Well, when you think about the amount of time that a race takes, let's say you're going to run a 2-hour half marathon.
Yeah.
And then let's say you're going to do, I don't know, just whatever would be a comparable time. Maybe an Olympic triathlon might be equivalent in time. And so you think about just spreading your workouts and spreading that effort across the day, across multiple disciplines. I feel like it's not so hard on any one part of your body, because it's less repetition. When you're running, you just have that same slap, slap, slap of the feet, straightforward motion. But when you're swimming, you're using different muscles than when you're running. And I just think I like mixing it up.
Yeah, like, this is the thing. Triathlon, like, for me, the thing what would stop me is the swimming part, because, like, yeah, I can swim effectively, but it's more like dragging myself at the bottom of the pool. So, like,
So many people say that. People say that swimming is what keeps them from doing it. And I actually did have to take swimming lessons to be able to do triathlon. So that is part of the how I became a runner story, or just as I started running more and more. After that Disney race, I turned into what I call an overzealous runner, and which led to overtraining, which led to overuse injuries, which left me on the sidelines more than I was racing. And no runner wants to be sitting on the sidelines while your friends are having fun and you're watching all these race dates go by. But it was because I was doing stupid things and I was getting injured. And so that actually was part of my path to becoming a triathlete, was because I couldn't run. I had hurt my hip. And one of my friends said, hey, I have this swimming coach I've been working with. Why don't you come swim with me? And I'm like, I can swim, like to go play in the water, go play in the lake, to go water skiing or whatever, but I can't swim well enough to swim for fitness. And so she was like, well, let's do swimming lessons. And so there were a group of us, again, probably, I want to say we maybe had 10 of us that started taking swimming lessons with this coach, Coach Terry. And we would get up, meet at the gym at 5 a.m. for swimming lessons so that we could be done before the serious swimmers, the master swim class, showed up.
Well,
and we did that for a couple of years.
Yeah, like the master swimmers, you said the serious swimmers, you're there at 5 a.m. they're at 6. I think you're definitely more serious than them. It's like,
it was more an effort though, because we had to get the pool when it was available, but also because we were kind of hiding. We didn't want anybody to make fun of us. And so we had to kind of do it in secret.
like, you know what? Anyone who's like up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning making fun of you is like, yeah, you know what? Come on now. We've been here a whole hour longer than you.
Yeah.
Stop it. That's like, stop it. Oh,
Yep.
man. So, like, this is the thing. You mentioned you went, like, you overtrained in the beginning because you were like a zealous runner. Like, was it a case of you, like, you just didn't know better at the time, or was it some other factor?
So I think that, this was 11 years ago. So there weren't as many podcasts, if there were even podcasts. I don't even know what was out there 11 years ago for podcasts.
Yeah.
But you didn't have as much access to any of the kind of information that we have now.
Mm.
And most people got their running knowledge either what was passed down from friends or like what you would find in a running magazine. And a lot of times running magazines like to hype the latest trend that isn't necessarily science-based. It's like, oh, this sounds good. I mean, if you flip through any magazine, any kind of health and fitness magazine, you will frequently find articles that contradict each other in the same magazine. So the information, there just wasn't a lot of great information. And at the time, and maybe there's people in your audience that don't even know this now, there's a technique to running. There are things that you should do when you run to avoid getting injured, and things you should do so that you're maximizing your training benefit. And one of those things that runners hate to do, but it's one of the most important things you can do, is rest. You have to have rest days because that's when your body recovers. And if your body isn't given time to recover, all you're going to do is beat it into the ground, and you're not going to see those performance increases. I'm doing a little sales curve here.
Well, yes, like the way you seamlessly went into it was like, and sales. Yeah, and sales. I was like, oh, very nice, very nice. So basically, people not maximizing their rest and just going at it hammer and tong and just breaking themselves down. Yeah, I can see how that can be definitely a problem. Yeah, I think I may have been on the verge of that, but touch wood. Yeah, but yes. So with this, like, so you were running, triathlons, everything like this. Did you just keep it at running, or did you decide to sort of evolve that onto, say, something higher, or like basically training, teaching, or was it a case of like, yeah?
So as I kept becoming an injured runner, I was tired of sitting on the sidelines, and I just wanted some answers. I wanted to know, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to change so that I'm not getting injured all the time? And around that time, I don't know if you're familiar with the brand of tennis shoes, running shoes called Newton running shoes.
No, I don't.
So one of the co-founders of that company around that time was going around the US with a gym bag full of demo shoes in his car.
Okay.
And he was stopping at running stores, and he was just trying to get people to, hey, it's a brand new, it was at the time a different concept for a shoe. He just wanted people to give the shoe a test drive and come to my running clinic. I'm going to teach you running form, and I want you to try out this shoe. And one of my friends said, hey, this thing is going on at the running store. Why don't we go check it out? And I'm like, wait, there's like a thing called running form? Somebody's going to teach us how I can avoid getting injured? I was all in. So we go to this thing, and it was fascinating to me. I loved learning just about the different techniques and different drills that you could do to avoid injury. The concept of warming up before you go run. All of these things, I think, because we're all a lot more educated now, don't really seem like such groundbreaking ideas. But at the time, nobody was talking about these things. This was fresh information. So we went to this clinic, and afterwards we stopped and talked to the co-founder of Newton Running. And he said, yeah, we actually train coaches on this technique. And we're like, really? That'd be kind of cool. We want to learn more. He goes, oh, well, we're revamping our program, but we will get in touch with you when we have the new program ready to go. So a couple months passes, and this group of friends from the gym said, hey, he contacted me, and let's go out to Boulder, Colorado, and learn this running thing that he has to teach us. So we went out and we did that training program. And then at the same time, there was the Lydiard training that was going on. Arthur Lydiard, who is kind of considered the founder of modern running. A lot of his principles are still ones that most coaches weave into, even if you're not sticking strictly with Lydiard's teachings. A lot of his principles are still woven into most training plans. So we did both of those things. Again, my mind was blown, and I'm like, why is nobody teaching this stuff? And so I came home and I said, well, I was really just going for answers for myself, but now I feel like somebody has to start sharing this information. And so that was kind of when I became a coach. So I turned that into coaching, and that's just kind of where it's been.
And was that the birth of Coach Kim? Yes.
Yes. So we've had a couple of different, I still kind of have a branding thing I got to work out. I started a Facebook page called Power of Run. And it has, I don't know, it's kind of fluctuated throughout the years, but about 69,000 followers. And it used to just be where I would share fitness memes and, feel good kind of stuff. And then as I started learning more, I would write blog posts and kind of post coaching information. And so that's where it started. Then I kind of evolved to wanting to do online coaching. And so I started the website that you saw the Coach Kim stuff on. And one of my athletes actually started calling me Coach Kim. And I was like, I kind of like the sound of that. So I started using that on my website.
Yes, no, it's good. I like it. Because yes, I'm Coach Kim. Run with me, mindset, power. Come on, let's do this.
Yeah.
A good positive swing to it. With doing all of the blogs and everything like this, and basically taking on the persona of Coach Kim. How many people have you been training over the course of the years now?
Not a massive number like some people. I would say combined with group training that I've done and one-on-one coaching, probably about 100 different people involved in different programs. I also did a big fitness challenge that I used to do every Thanksgiving through New Year's, and have had up to 500 people in that program at a time, just as a program to keep people going, keep people moving. Not hardcore fitness, but just to keep people moving through the holidays so that you don't give up. But I really prefer working with people one-on-one. That is what I love the most. And so to be able to do that well, you have to keep the number of people that you're coaching one-on-one fairly low to give them the kind of attention that I like to give people.
It must be quite challenging being in planet lockdown at this present time, doing the coaching and everything like this. I know with the States, different areas right now are in different sort of stages of lockdown, which I'm just very, very confusing. I think we're in sort of different stages in the UK as well. Still very confusing. But it must have been a challenge for you with regards to your coaching business.
The biggest challenge was suddenly going from having just my husband and I and my 16-year-old home to having my 2 college and graduated daughters back home with us, because, the world was in this state of panic at first, right? And so we're like, one, my daughter who is in college, you got to come home. I mean, basically after spring break, everything was canceled anyway and everything went online. So we got her home, and then I have another daughter who lives in New York, and that was where it was really, really scary at the beginning. We're like, yes, get home. And what we didn't, so that was more challenging, just, and then one still in high school that we had to worry about making sure she was keeping up with her homeschooling while my husband has moved his office into the house. So, it's just a lot of chaos, just like everybody was going through or is still going through at that time.
Yeah.
But one of the interesting things is that we brought my daughter home from New York, not knowing that she had been exposed to COVID, and she had it when she got here.
Oh God. So what did you guys do? Did you just lock her away in a room, or were you like,
Well, so it turns out she got an antibody test, and because in the US at least, we did not have enough tests. We were not testing people unless they were super, super sick. And that was also when everybody's like, oh no, if you have it, you're going to be like deathbed sick, right?
Yeah.
So she comes home and she's an actor and she's just very, very creative. And so she starts talking about how she lost her sense of taste and smell. And that was before that was a symptom that everybody was talking about. And we're like, oh, come on, you're not sick. But so we kept her at home, but we had her around the family. But that was the only symptom she had, was the loss of taste and smell. So she's doing fine. The rest of us got antibody tests, and my daughter with asthma, her antibody test came back negative. So I don't know. We were all in the same house and nobody else got sick.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about this. Like, because at the beginning, with the way they were talking about COVID, like it was just like, okay, like I was thinking at the beginning, it was like some type of like stronger flu. Then it was like, okay, the way they're acting and saying it, was like, okay, this is like looking like it's going to be 1920s Spanish type flu going through ravaging like the planet, and yeah, we got to stay home. And now it's like, yeah, COVID is definitely a thing, and it can really take some people down, but it hasn't been taking down as many people as you think it should. Well, it should have, as they were saying in the beginning. So it's like very weird where you sort of like can put it, like, because I find it tricky in my head, like trying to work.
Yeah, it's hard to understand what's real and what's not. And then at the same time, you look at right now in Texas, they're in a lot of their cities, they're in the same situation that New York was in a couple of months ago, where there's not enough hospital beds. So something about it has to be true. I mean, there has to be something really bad about it, because you're filling up hospital beds. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I don't know. But we are wearing our masks around here just to be safe.
Masks, they're compulsory over here on public transport, but going into shops, not so much. I think if you go into a hairdresser, I think masks are compulsory, but they're not compulsory in, like, if you go to a bar or pubs, and it makes no sense at this present time. Makes no sense what's going on with the UK government, how they're trying to control things, and from what I've seen, it makes no sense of what they've been doing over in the States to control things either. So it's like, yeah, one group says this, the other says that, and it's like, right, quite mental indeed. Now, I've got to say, one of the things I read in your bio to say with regards to your breast cancer diagnosis in 2015. Yeah, like 5 years now, and you know what I mean. What on earth was that like? What was your sort of thoughts and approach then?
So, yeah, I was in what I would consider the best shape of my life when I was diagnosed. I was really lean. I had a lot of muscle. I was doing triathlons, and I was all geared up for this amazing summer. And I had a goal of qualifying for USA Triathlon Nationals. And so when I got this news, that was really what went through my mind. I'm like, man, I have all these plans. And I remember the doctor saying to me, and this was before the biopsy where they knew for real that I actually had it. But, I guess when you're a doctor and you see enough of this, you just know. But I was still kind of in this stage of denial that comes from my optimism. And I was like, until there's a biopsy,
Yeah.
it is not true. And so I'm in the doctor's office and she's telling me, well, I don't know what kind of plans you have for this fall, but you better put them on hold. And I'm like, what are you talking about, lady? And so I think first I want to backtrack because I think this is important for just people. I was in amazing shape. And the way I found out was not the symptoms of breast cancer that you hear about the most. I was getting into the shower one morning and I kind of turned toward the mirror and the light coming through the window hit me just right. And I saw this itty bitty tiny dimple. I mean, like the tiny indentation that you see on an orange, really, really small.
Yeah.
And dimpling can be a sign of breast cancer, but usually we hear about things like feeling a lump. So we're getting ready to go on a vacation to Hawaii. And I thought, yeah, I should probably talk to the doctor about that when I get back. So I go and I have this magnificent vacation and I have pictures from this vacation that every time they pop up, I think that was the last time we had like a big celebration before all of this cancer stuff came and hit us. So I get back from this amazing family vacation, go to the doctor, and from the very beginning, they are, yeah, that's breast cancer. Yeah, that's breast cancer. Yeah, that's breast cancer. And I went to several doctor's appointments by myself without my husband because I was like, this is not answer. and finally I got smart and I said, all right, he's just going to have to start coming with me because now these people are making me mad.
Yeah, I can imagine because if you're doing all these triathlons, everything like this, like no doubt feeling quite superhuman, like having someone come to you and go, hey, by the way, this is the situation. For me, that would be, I don't know how that would play on my mind, but it'd be like, it'll rock me. I won't lie, it would definitely rock me.
Yeah, so mine was a form of breast cancer that is a slow growing cancer. Sometimes you get this diagnosis and it's like, bam, bam, bam. We have a friend who got diagnosed in the fall and the same week she got diagnosed, she was already in treatment. They did not drag their feet on hers because it was an aggressive form of cancer. Mine was a fairly slow growing cancer. And when we went back and looked, it was actually on my mammogram from the previous year. They just didn't see it.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was one of those things you're like, oh, nice. So, I mean, I'm really lucky that I was paying attention to what was going on with my body, that I even could see it, because every doctor who I met with also, their reaction was, I can't believe you saw that yourself. So I feel very fortunate that I saw it, because who knows how long it would have gone before somebody finally saw it on the mammogram. But once you know to look for it, it's there.
Yeah. I think if you weren't so in tune with your body at the time, you most really, like, it might have just passed you by as well. But like, you know what I mean, with all that sort of training, getting up to that level, trying to get into nationals, you know what I mean? Like, you most really are going, yes, this is what, bam, 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 wait a second, what is this? So yeah, made it easier for you to spot, which, let's be grateful for that, because damn, say, slow moving. Yeah, who knows? But we're having this conversation right now, which is a good thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, smiles all around.
That's right. So yeah, so we went through all of this testing and everything. We didn't really tell our daughters until we had the actual proof from that biopsy that I was holding out for.
Yeah.
And sat the girls down, and we have just always, our house has always kind of been a free for all. We have tons of friends in and out all the time. And that night we were coming home from the doctor, and I sent my daughters a text and I said, no friends tonight. Everybody needs to be home at whatever time, like 6 o'clock. We're having a family meeting. And little did I know until after the fact, they all thought that we were going to lay some other bad news on them. They thought that their parents were getting divorced, because why else would your parents sit you down and tell you couldn't do anything else?
Yeah.
So I think they were relieved to hear that that was not the case, but they also were really upset, obviously, to hear the breast cancer news. So the doctor let me basically train and race hard all summer. I kept training so I could be strong for my surgery. And we are coming up here on 5 years. August 20th, it'll be 5 years. That's the day I had my mastectomy. And I really just, I feel like I used all of the skills that I gained as a runner and as a triathlete to get through that time. When I came out of surgery, I remember that one of my first memories of coming out of surgery was when they were wheeling me to my room, and we're at this elevator, and my husband is over here, and they're talking to me, and somebody says, well, how does it feel? How do you feel? And I said, well, it feels about like it did last week when I crashed on my bike. My ribs are a little sore. Which, I mean, I was heavily medicated at the time, but that was really how I approached the whole thing. You know, every pain I had, I compared it to, oh, it felt like we had a hard chest day, or, you know, I was achy and sore and tired, and I just felt like the things I learned as an athlete gave me the skills to be able to deal with that pain, and also the resilience to know that this is just a thing that's happening in my life. It doesn't have to become my life, and we're going to get through this. And so I used a lot of mental strategies over the next couple of months. I wasn't supposed to have chemo. They kept on telling me I wasn't going to need chemo. And there's a thing called an oncotype test that comes back, and it tells you how likely it is for your cancer to come back. So although mine was a slow growing one, turned out it was also one that really was a type that wanted to come back and was likely to come back. And so I had to have chemo, and I wasn't planning on that. And that was one of the things that really floored me more than anything. I didn't want to lose my hair. I didn't want people to look at me like I was a sick person. Yeah. And, you know, it doesn't make any sense now, but those are the things that go through your mind.
Yeah. No, I think with regards to like what you're saying about, doing the chemo and everything like this, I've had a couple of friends which have had like gone through the sort of big C experience, like, you know what I mean? And yes, when it has come down to the whole chemotherapy treatment, I think it's a case of everyone, I'm guilty of doing this as well. It's like, saying, you got to fight, you got to stay strong, given all of that, where it's just a case of many of the times it's like, hey, just, they want to be left alone, get on with it, and just like, don't want to be known as that person who has like cancer, and just like, just want to carry on with my life as normal as possible. But everyone else kind of like, because they're trying to care for them and be there for them, they like just make it a little bit more awkward. I don't know if it was like that for yourself, but you know what I mean? Like that's how I've seen, and I've been like when I've had friends who've been through that, if you get what I mean. It's very hard, very difficult.
Yeah, so I think because of the age of my kids and some of the activities that we were involved in, we were just surrounded by people who wanted to do things. And my kids I felt like we're surrounded by love the entire time. So many people coming out to, you know, check on them or to be their mom for the day for an important event or bring us food. We were just, it's kind of sad to think that somebody would have to go through something so serious to feel the love that exists in their community. And it's kind of one of those things that I really wish not that people would have cancer, but I really wish that people would be able to experience just that level of love and support we had, because it really was very, very special.
Yeah, I think it's a case of just simply, if you can have the experience without the trauma.
Definitely.
Yeah. Oh no. Wow. Like this is the thing. Like with regards to the training and help keeping you sort of mentally strong, and 5 years on. Like so, I know this is going to be a bit of a jump, but so with all of that sort of knowledge and like all that information you picked up, what was like was there any sort of key lessons you learned out of that, apart from like, yes, people surrounding, being there for you with love? Was there anything else you picked up from that?
Well, I think one of the things that when people ask me, how should I help support a friend, or, or they come to me after they've just been diagnosed with cancer, one of the things I like to remind people is that you really need to be in tune with yourself and know what it is that you need. If friends bringing you meals is helpful, let them bring meals. People love to help you. They want to feel helpful. So if that's something you would appreciate, let them do that. But like for us, at a certain point, my husband's like, all right, I can handle the meals. This is a lot. And so, but people still wanted to help. Well, what else can we do for you? And because I was so used to being active, I'm like, I just want to get outside and walk. Somebody go on a walk with me. And I thought it was really cool. Again, I had friends lined up on the calendar who would show up at my house and take me, and we would go for a walk, and we would walk and talk. And then I had friends who were like, well, what else can I do for you? And they would take me out for lunch. And what I appreciated about that was sometimes you just need to be able to talk about things so you can process it. So I appreciated those friends who were willing to listen to me rehash the same old thing 1,000 times, if that's what it took. And it wasn't whining or complaining. It was just trying to process what's going on and what's coming next. And so I appreciated those smaller gestures of, let's just go for a walk. I also kept training throughout. So as soon as the doctor cleared me to start running again, I started running. So I only had about a week of running before I was hit with this, you have to go through chemo. And when people go through chemo, everybody's body handles that differently. Some people can do what I did, and for other people, it's maybe not a possibility. But I was determined. I was going to run a 5K for every round of chemo, and then I was going to celebrate at the end by running a half marathon. And again, I'm not trying to say everybody should have that as an expectation, but I was starting out in incredible shape, and it was a goal that was something that would help me stay focused on something other than, I have cancer. This is changing my life in ways I don't want my life changed.
Wait, so how many 5Ks did you run?
So I did 4 5Ks. I had 4 rounds of chemo, and then we had the half marathon at the end. And so when you go through chemo, everybody experiences where a couple of days after your chemo, you really, really feel bad. And again, depending on what combination of drugs, you might feel better or worse than other people. Again, everybody's different. But for me, I was always in incredible pain, so much pain that some days I could really not get off the couch and walk across the room. My feet hurt like crazy. And so I knew, because I had always exercised, that exercise makes you feel better. So on those days, I had an 8-minute yoga video that I did, and I would do that video 3-4 times a day, however many times a day it took, just to keep my calves and my feet and my ankles from hurting so that I could be present. And nobody had any expectations that I was going to do anything phenomenal, but I wanted to not be in pain. So that's what I did. And then you kind of have this uptick where you start to feel better up until the next time chemo knocks you down again and you have your next treatment. So on the good days, I would go out and I would run. And again, running is a relative kind of term. I wasn't running fast. I was listening to my body. I was only doing what felt good at the time, so I was paying attention to the cues my body was giving me. So I wasn't doing crazy stuff. I had that consistency of, we're either going to walk or we're going to run. And then do you guys have Orange Theory there?
Orange Theory.
Orange Theory. So it's like a boutique gym, and they have a combination of running, rowing, and the weight room, and it's a 60-minute class.
No, we don't. Not that I know of. It might be making it may be making its way over here in 2020, but
Okay. Well, so it was really starting to boom here in the US around that time. And I loved the gym, and the people, at least at our local franchises, were so good about keeping the facility clean that I felt really safe going there, even in an immune compromised state. So
Mm.
I went to Orange Theory, I think 2 days a week, just to keep my strength up. And again, some days I would wake up and I would just feel horrible and I don't want to run, but I knew that if I went and worked out, I was going to have more energy and feel better. And so I just kept those things up. And now there's actually a lot more research than there was even 5 years ago, showing that by exercising while you're going through cancer treatment, that it actually helps your chances of survival and reduces your risk of recurrence.
Fantastic. My God. I've got one of the things which, like, your story definitely shows. You are hard as nails, lady. You are hard as, I got to say it. Wow. Like, look, because this is the thing, like having 4 treatments of like chemo and then basically going, yeah, you know what, each treatment I'm going to run 5K, then like top it off with a half marathon. Look, I know people who are, quote, fit and healthy. If you told them to run like 4 or 5Ks, then do a half marathon, they'll be like, no, not in this lifetime, not in the next. Please keep that suggestion away from me. And yeah, they'll most probably curse you out. But like, to do that, oh my Lord, like, I've got to say, it's very impressive. It's like,
So,
it shows a high mental fortitude. And
so
then,
another crazy thing I did was on the day of my first treatment,
yeah.
it was the day of one of my favorite races. And it's on, anyway, it's just one of my favorite races. And I was like, I really need to go. And it's one of those races where it lasts for an all-day race and you run a 1-mile loop around this college campus all day long and you just keep doing loops. And then at nighttime when people get off work, they have a 5K that you can do. And I turned to my oncologist and I said, hey, after I get done here, I really want to go to this race. Do you think I could go run it tonight? And he looks at my husband like, your wife, is she being real right now? And he said, hey, if you feel okay, you go do it. And so actually right after my chemo treatment, I went home, got hydrated, and I went out and ran a 5K that day too. But it was just one of those, it was just a crazy thing, a goal that I set that helped me keep my mind focused on something other than how sucky it was.
Yeah. No, I see. Like, so, like, this is the thing. Like, fast forward, we're 5 years on, and like, you know what I mean? You're fighting fit. You're here right now. You know what I mean? We're doing this podcast. Like, so what is sort of the mission for the next 5 years, say?
Wow, that's a great one. So I have a podcast called Power Up Your Performance,
Mm-hmm.
and I am really enjoying just sharing mindset tricks and talking to people who are experts in different areas of mindset and fitness and nutrition. I would really love to grow my podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to do some public speaking, and just continue coaching, helping to help people stay active and move. I did a podcast episode the other day with a 71-year-old man who had a heart attack and was revived on the table 3 different times during his open heart surgery and went on to become a US Masters track champion. And at the time of his heart attack, he was completely unfit. And I would love to keep talking to people like that and sharing those stories, because I think that when we hear stories like that, it gives us hope. It shows us that we aren't stuck where we are, that there's hope, that you can change at any age. And so, I just want to keep spreading positivity and seeing where that goes.
Is that chap named Dan?
His name is Dan Williams.
Yeah, no. I, I I've seen him about, like,
Yeah.
okay, my God. So, wow, that sounds like a very interesting, like, conversation right there. But like, with your podcast, how many podcast episodes have you done so far?
Tomorrow's episode will be episode number 100.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, so this is season 3. I just started season 3, so 2 full years that I've been doing it.
Wow. So 2 full years, 100 episodes. Like, I've got to say, that is very impressive. But like, yeah. How many people are listening to your podcast on a daily basis? Do you know?
I actually don't know. It's a growing podcast. It's a growing podcast.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all? It's a good thing.
Yes. Yeah. But I think, to me, I look at 100 episodes and I think, gosh, that sounds like a lot. I mean, when you think about you spend an hour in interviewing somebody, and then if you have to edit and any promotion you do, that's a lot of time and effort that you put into something. And it's like, to get to 100 episodes or even 50 or wherever anybody is, I think that that's kind of a cool accomplishment too. And I think that as I've produced all those episodes, just the education, everything that you learn as you're going through that, from the technical standpoint to also just life lessons and the interesting stories that people have. I just love it because I think there's so many lessons, and I love just hearing other people's fascinating stories.
Like someone definitely in the running realm, you should definitely see if you can get on. Like, it might take a lot of work to get this chap, but former Navy SEAL, ultra runner, Mr. David Goggins. I don't know if you know. Oh, you should look him up.
I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, as I say, I would say it will be very hard to get him on, but I would say if you can turn him into your great white whale to like track down, because there, how can I say, he puts mental toughness onto some crazy level. If you like listen to, like, how you talked about doing the 1 mile track run, the 5K on that night. He did a 1 mile, like he was doing this track run because he wanted to get into this ultra race to raise money for the widows and orphans of for Navy SEALs of this particular incident, the lone survivor incident. So he was like, yes, he wanted to get into, I think it was the Bad Water one. I can't remember what the whole thing, but it was called Bad Water. And the guy who ran Bad Water was like, no, you need to be able to run X amount. And he told him about this track race. And like, let's just say it's like a mile around a track with a slight incline. And like, he starts out running like a champion, like, yeah, keeping up with this Japanese lady. And like, he was like, yeah, first 17 miles, yeah, no problem at all. And there's like, race organizer was looking at him like, what are you doing? Slow down, you can't do this. And kept on going. I think he got to sort of like mile 50 where things started to go wrong for him. Like, let's just say he sat down in a chair. He was so broken at one point, he couldn't actually get up to go to a porter cabin. Very graphic. He was convulsing. He messed himself, and but this guy got up and continued walking for another, I think, 20 miles, got to around about miles 70, 80. His wife told him he wasn't going to make the time because he wanted to do 100 miles in 24 hours. His wife told him he wasn't going to make the time. And this guy, David Goggins, just went, okay, right. Opened up something like in him, and he just kept on running for the next 20 to 30 miles, just like kept on running. Hit the whole 100-mile mark, did it in 19 hours. And like, yeah.
Wow.
The guy's phenomenal. And I think, yeah, if you can get him on your podcast, I think, yeah, that'll be definitely track him down. I think you'll be fantastic for your podcast. But yes.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah. Some of the things he's done for endurance fitness and everything like this, it scares me on many a level. So if you like if there was going to be someone you wanted as ideal guest, apart from like David Goggins, who I suggested, who would you have on?
Oh boy, you have stumped me.
Wasn't out to stump you, I promise.
Oh, I can't even think off the top of my head. I love talking to all kinds of running greats,
Mm,
but yesterday when I was interviewing this 71-year-old heart attack survivor, we were talking about a 103-year-old woman who I think placed first last year at the National Senior Games in one of the shorter distance events, I think maybe the 100.
mm,
And anyway, her name is Julia Hurricane Hawkins. And I would love to talk to her. She is 103 years old, and she didn't start running until she was older. And I would just love to get inside that mind and know, what makes her tick,
mm,
and what keeps her going. Why running at this age? I just think she to me seems like a fascinating person.
mm. Okay, nice. Catch the hurricane. Ah, man, fantastic, fantastic. So, apart from the podcast, is there any other like missions over the 5 years, or is it just going to be the podcast and training?
I would like to speak. I think it would be awesome to be able to, go do workshops and be a keynote speaker at businesses or,
Mm,
events.
okay.
Maybe even hosting retreats for runners or people who want to work on their mindset, or just helping business people, or helping women learn to follow their dreams. I think that one thing that I have learned as I've done the podcast and talked to so many people,
Mm,
it's shocking me how many women don't have their own dreams, or they think that their kids' dreams are the only dreams that they can have. And so that is one of the things that I try to help people achieve through running, because I don't think that running really is just about running. It always teaches you so much more about your life and who you can be. And so I like to bring that, as when I'm teaching people to run or helping people achieve a running goal. That is one of the big things that is always going on in the back of my mind is, how can we get some personal growth and development out of this? How can you use running as a means to help you achieve your other goals in life?
yeah, I do find when I do go running, I do find it quite meditative. Like basically, just like I might have something a podcast on or something like to slightly distract me, but
Hmm?
just being in that sort of peaceful zone where I'm like processing things, but yeah, just in a very sort of calm state in my sort of little bubble going along the streets and just yeah, no one sort of interfering or trying to break that. So yeah, I find it really beneficial.
Yeah, I feel that way too. I like running with people and I like the racing experience, but I really enjoy running by myself a lot more because of that, because that is one of the things that I personally get out of running
Mm,
that you don't get if you're running with a partner and talking the whole time. But I like the energy that I get and that I can bring to my work when I get done running. I almost always will come home from a run with some great idea or some new insight. And I think that, not everybody, some people just like it because they, want to feel more fit. But to me, there's much more of a benefit to running. And that's one that I really value.
yeah. I don't know if they have park runs over in America. No.
If they do, I've heard of them. I think if they do, they're fairly rare. I hear more about them from friends who have participated when they go visit the UK.
Ah, yeah, no, I think that's something you guys should get over there because with regards to running, it has this real sort of community aspect to it. So like yeah, people coming together once a week, do their run, and yeah, they seem to be a lot happier with it. One of the things, unfortunately, like just down to circumstance, like you can get t-shirts where it goes, you've done 25 runs and like 50 runs, 100 runs. The highest one I've seen, I think, 300. I haven't seen someone for 400 runs, but
Wow.
because you only can run one day, like with park run, one day a week. So it shows you've had commitment to the cause all the way through.
I love that.
So yeah, so my lady, she is like 2 away from getting her 50th, but
Very cool.
yeah, she got injured and that stopped her doing it within a year. And then she was going to go for it this year, but a small little thing came up which cancelled all park runs, so she couldn't do it. So it's like, so yeah, she's still waiting to get her 50th badge of honor down. So yes.
Well, hopefully this thing will clear up so that we can all get outside and do those group things again.
Absolutely. Yes, no doubt. Like, yes. Would you be able to tell people where they can find you, how they can get in contact with you?
Yeah, so I am Power of Run on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So they can find me there. And then my website is crushingmygoals.com.
Yeah.
And then I think we did not cover this yet. I also have a book that just came out in March. It's called Holistic Endurance Training, the Integrated Approach to Thriving as an Athlete. So they can also check out my book if they want to know a little bit more about my approach to coaching.
Will your book be hard copy, audio, Kindle?
It is hard copy or ebook, Kindle.
Perfect.
You can get it either way. And it's on pretty much any online source where you buy books. I know it's on Amazon. I think it's on Target.com. I don't know, there's some other online stores, but I know it's on Amazon for sure.
Excellent. Yes, what I'll do, I'll put all your links in the description so everyone can find you and buy the book. Please do. And yeah, by all means, Kim, I'd like to say thank you for coming on today. It has been a pleasure. It has been an honor. Yes. And yeah, I'd like to say thank you to everyone out there, to all my friends, my life warriors out there. Stay safe, stay well, be fantastic, be awesome, be excellent, be all the positive bees you can be in this world and more. And yes, I'd like to say thank you. Peace.
Thank you. It's been great.
Oh, it's been great. Awesome. And